When you go to the equivalent of the DMV, when you go to get your driver's license, like there's light fixtures hanging, the toilet's out of order, the heat doesn't work, it smells like shit. So
This is how it
speaking of
is.
which, okay, so
Yeah.
so this kind of ties into like people are desperate, right? And it's hard to live in this country now. The cost of living has gone through the roof. You've mentioned it. You also said something about, being or becoming like a third world country. I
Mhm.
share this view. I mean, I was born here. I'm pretty sure you weren't, but TK, I think, was. But I have a
Mhm.
perspective, and this used to be a really wonderful place. And we used to be like, we literally bragged about our healthcare because it was fucking good healthcare, right? Like you
Mhm.
could get to the doctor, you could get to the specialist, you could get in the hospital. Like this country, you said the last 15 years. I think it's more like the last 5 years. This place has gone to fucking shit. This place is literally a third world country compared to how it used to be. When you go to the I forget what it's called here, like the equivalent of the DMV, when you go to get your driver's license, like there's light fixtures hanging, the toilet's out of order, the heat doesn't work, it smells like shit. Like, it's like going in with what you expect in Mexico. And
Mhm.
I may not be as traveled as you, but I get around sometimes, and like our airport is a piece of shit compared to some, like Mexico is even nicer, for God's sakes, right? And you go to
Mhm.
these places and they got nice people, the systems are working. It's not, here is just like this big fucking mess all over the place with poor people everywhere. Nobody gives a shit. People, they don't say hello, they look down. It's like it's a real fucking, like it's a real cesspool right now. You touched on it. Like it can't only be because of Trudeau.
No, no. I think it's lack of incentive, and I think it will continue. I think this is the same problem the USSR had, and the reason why it failed is people had a lack of incentive to work. When people have a lack of incentive to work because, they're never going to own a house, they're not having kids, they're not doing things that make them, mentally happy, because we have this mental health crisis, which is a result of some of these factors as well, that yeah, you just have a lack of incentive. So nobody really wants to work. I mean, even Calgary Airport, right? You go to the international terminal, there aren't many flights going out there. It's not like Toronto. We don't have as great an airport as Toronto in terms of flights, like destinations. So it's pretty quiet. But, like you say, you're always delayed out of there. When you come back, you're waiting sometimes like 20 minutes for the people to come over and tow the plane into the terminal. And you're just like, what is going on here? It's not as even like it's busy. It's just that and you see these people as well. They're just stood around. They're just stood around. And
Yeah.
I think this is just what's happening. People,
Entitled.
if you think about it, if you take away all the incentives of what you're going to get in the Canadian dream, which is like owning a home and all these other things, if you take away all those incentives, are you going to be enthusiastic about working anymore? No. So I don't blame these people. And I think it will continue to get worse if if we continue to accept the government just constantly intervening. So I think it will just get worse until you do. And maybe that's in 10, 20 years. I don't know. The way Canada's going within immigration, it will probably be a lot faster. But I think you will eventually get to where it's like slums everywhere. Like that's like my home country. So to your point, I've seen this happen in my own country in the UK, and the UK is way worse. It is in a awful state right now. The country is a train wreck, and I would never go back and live there. And the standard of living in Canada is higher than the UK, albeit they're both failing countries right now. And
So here's
Canada's doing the exact same thing that the UK was doing in the early 2000s, absolutely pumping the crap out of immigration to an extent that it cannot, we're not building the services, we're not building anything to take care
okay.
of enough of these people. Even the targets that you alluded to, like the 250K a year, I mean, they don't even tell us the net migration figures. They just say, oh, yeah, we're targeting like 500,000. Like it was over 1 million NPRs last year. That is insane. Are we building like,
Insane.
did you see the 20 hospitals go up in the GTA?
Right,
Because 40% of
hospitals.
them are going. Yeah.
Although I was at the new Vaughan Hospital a couple weeks ago, and I was thoroughly impressed with how amazing it was, but it was empty, which was crazy. But like I had
That
an
is weird.
appointment, they took me in, they did a CT scan, they got me out, but it was empty. But you know what was glaring on this thing? If you go here, first of all, it's like just a big ad for the big developers,
private
right? Like
donors.
all private donors, all big
Yeah.
developers. So you get there,
Yeah.
it's like Cordalucci Hospital, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like the Gasparis
Gasparis, yeah.
wing over here, and it's pretty crazy. But I mean, hats off to these gentlemen because they did put a lot of their hard-earned money into building this hospital. I'm sure it wasn't like
Tax break.
willingly, they were probably forced to do it. But it's such a great point. Where the hell are all the hospitals popping up that are just necessary for the amount of immigration we brought in the last year? Forget about the last
So
10 years.
Nanos Research just did a poll and they said, what are the big concerns right now? And the three things were inflation, mortgages, and immigration. And so when you poll people and you look at it over the years, what their concerns are, one of the big things has always been, healthcare, education, right? Because those are obviously concerns Canadians should have because, as you said, what are the rewards for working so hard? Where we're like, oh, we get free education, free healthcare, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But now their concerns are changing, obviously, because most of the younger people, that's what they're going to be concerned with, right?
Mhm.
Older people might still be concerned with healthcare and all that kind of stuff. But really, younger people, as the millennial generation grows, we're not worried about those things like healthcare. We're not worried about those things. We just want to know that we're going to have a home. We just want to know that the price of groceries aren't going to go too far out of reach. And then immigration is now a big concern because obviously people blame immigrants. Now, you said something about the UK, and I just want to make this point, and I'm not saying it's the be all end all. Canada is nowhere near as good of a country as it was 20 years ago. It's gone
Really?
downhill for
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
38 years that I've been alive.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the same thing it was 50 years ago or even probably 100 years ago. I don't know. But nowhere on earth is. There isn't any countries who are now coming out unless they were third world countries, right? Unless they were just so underdeveloped that over the last 20 years, they've crawled out of like the ashes and they got their whole own set of problems over there, So like we shouldn't envy them or anything like that. So if we have to look at a scale of, quality of life or anything else like that too, yeah, we're not happy with the way Canada is here, but it's not like we have that many options to go to. I don't believe America is a better place to live for most people. There's a ton of jobs there. You can make more money. There's a ton of places to live that I'd rather live than Toronto there if I had a bunch of money to do it. But the majority of Americans, the majority of places there, the standard of living is pretty low.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you got anything from one of these clips. And if you want to see some more, press something on the screen here. Boom.
That was good.
That was good. I like that. That was good.